Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the next event in our Times Higher Education Student Funding Week series. Today, we are talking about money saving tips directly from two people who know very well the challenges and struggles of living on a student budget. I'm joined by Georgie East and Salma Hussein, and I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves before we jump into a Q&A. Georgie, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. So yeah, my name is Georgie East. I am from, I think my internet just went a bit funny then. I'm from Cardiff University Students' Union. I'm Vice President Welfare and I graduated last year. I studied human geography.
Wonderful, thanks. And Salma, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Salma Hussein. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm on very on brand. I'm from King's College London Students' Union, and I'm currently president. For now, last year I graduated in, what was it? Biochemistry. And it's very exciting to be here to tell you about money struggles today.
Excellent. Thank you both. I should say to those in the audience, please feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can. And really the hope is today that we can provide you with some tips and advice about living on a student budget. Salma and Georgie are going to share some things that they wish they'd known before they started university and give you some of their best money saving advice. So I guess we'll start with that. We've got prospective students in the audience who are preparing to study abroad. And I think it's really prudent to just start with what is something you wish that you'd known, particularly related to spending and funding before you started university. Salma, do you want to start?
It's going to sound very cliche, but read your emails. The university will send you so many emails about things which are free to do, things where you can get free money. We get fortnightly participation in research trials, which you can get £10 for just giving a bit of blood. And all these emails do build up to actually you'd be able to make quite a lot of money. There's a scholarship in first year, which they just send in the bottom of a tiny, and after a long email in the bottom in a tiny section where you could have got £1,000 for nothing. Similarly, living bursaries and how students are supported, especially from wide participation backgrounds, it's often not made clear. So definitely read your emails, looking out for what can you access, what does your university offer, and what does perhaps the Russell Group offer for your course or your year is really important.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. There will be lots of stuff that you'll be receiving, but it is important to take the time to read it all and go through it because there are going to be opportunities for you to save money, take part in free activities, and you don't want to miss out on those things. Georgie?
Yeah, I think just to add to what Salma said, so a big thing that we have at Cardiff is like our students' union is massive, and I know it is at King's as well. And there are like all the universities across the UK that are seasonally really prominent, and we have loads of kind of opportunities such as a job shop, which so you can go in and you can find part-time work. So like if you're struggling and you want to just top up your finances a little bit, you can do that. We also have kind of Give It a Go, which is like Salma said, similar, loads of free sessions. So it's like really heavily subsidized a lot of the time for students. So also another thing, definitely keep your eye out for student discounts. Download all the apps. Download all the apps like Student Beans, Uni Days, NUS Card, like get them all and just keep your eyes peeled because there's some really, really, really good student ones, like student deals out there. But I'd say like Sam said, keep your eye on your emails, but also really look on your SU website because we're always trying to save you guys money. So just have a flick through and you'll definitely find some kind of good deals and that sort of thing.
Yeah, one of the things we've talked about over the last couple of days in various sessions and things is about the student discounts and how it never hurts to ask, right? I mean, you've got nothing to lose by asking when you go get your hair cut or when you're eating out somewhere to just ask the question, is the discount available for students? I've got my student ID. And the worst thing they can say is no, but best case scenario, you maybe save a little bit and those savings can definitely add up for students. I think on that note, you both mentioned a few of the things that your universities have done to provide free or discounted activities, but I wonder if we can give just some more examples of things that students should be looking out for in terms of ways that your universities have supported free or discounted activities for students.
Yeah, I don't mind jumping in there. So we were really lucky actually because I'm in Cardiff, which is in Wales, and Welsh government really, really pumped money into kind of higher education this year. So a lot of money we've had is to kind of involve students in activities due to like student loneliness this year and stuff that people are kind of struggling to get involved in, because sports and societies have all got a bit complex. So we were actually granted £50,000 by HEFCU, which is Higher Education Funding Council for Wales, for a 50k wellbeing calendar, which was amazing. But basically we kind of shifted a load of our activity online and collated this kind of calendar where students could dip in and out of loads of different things, actually, try sports and societies that you would be able to try in normal years, but you could actually do online, which was brilliant. And we had really great engagement with that. We also have a Res Life team. So they're a residencies life team that live on campus in first year accommodation that, again, like push out these emails, push out these communications to say to students, right, here's loads of heavily subsidized activities and stuff you guys can get involved in, which again had massive uptake. And when the kind of restrictions were less this year, people were going out on park runs and, doing ultimate frisbee and stuff outside. Again, all really heavily subsidized. But another thing that we've done from HEFCU this year is we have a COVID-19 student support fund, which is what they call means tested. But basically you go onto your university account and you fill in saying that you've suffered financially as a result of COVID, and every student has direct access to £350. So you literally just fill in a form, tick a box, and you're given this money. It's audited, so if you're absolutely rolling in it, then they might be like, you didn't really need that, please give it back. But it's a really, really easy, streamlined process. And I think going forward as well, especially next year, if you guys are prospective students coming forward, there'll still be these pots of money hanging around. So if you are struggling financially, or you just want to know what's available, just ask the question, because there is kind of a lot of money that's been left available because of COVID.
Yeah, excellent. I think that's, we haven't even really tapped into the conversation about spending and budgeting and funding and things like that during the pandemic, but I think it's really great to hear that your university has been able to really support students in that regard. Salma, anything you want to add about how universities are able to support students through free and discounted activities or opportunities?
So it's really interesting because this is something we've been thinking about this year, both in terms of general activities to support students who are feeling lonely, but also to give students an edge in the job market. So we have, King's is massive. They're extraordinarily massive, and sometimes I think they have a bit too much money, but if you're putting activities on for students, that is okay. So we have things such as a science gallery, which is where art and science collide, and it's free entry for students. You can go and you can explore. They had an exhibit on addiction, which is interesting. They had something on gender, sex and sexuality, and the interplay between those three things, where you can meet other students. Similar to Cardiff, we have a Resi Life team who put on a number of free activities. I remember they have things like cook-alongs. At Christmas, they had gingerbread house kits where they'd send you a gingerbread house and then you'd make it online with people, which was quite nice. Again, Students' Union, sports clubs and societies, they try to be as inclusive as possible, having these sessions where it's as low cost as possible. There are some which cost a bit more, but generally they're free or subsidized, especially online. I found a positive of being online is you don't have to move campuses. I can stay in bed if I wanted to. And being able to go to a number of events, maybe I wouldn't have done them before because I was like, oh, can I really be bothered to go to Strand? That's 30 minutes on the tube. How can I minimize traveling? So looking around, and I find quite often things are limited in terms of what you're following on social media. So diversifying what you're following, you can see there are so many things to do. We have things like King's Civic Challenge, which is really nice opportunity for students to work with local charity partners and develop their proposals, and then at the end they're judged, and that charity will get £5,000 possibly, and there are 9, so that's £45,000, which is up for grabs, and that's because students can engage. There's Civic Leadership Academy where you learn to be a leader. Engaging with all these things just make your student experience so much better, and it's free and it improves your CV. What is not to love?
Yeah, that's great. All sounds like really great initiatives. We have a question from the audience that I definitely want to tackle, and it's about how to stay within your budget every month and tips and tools for sort of sticking to a budget. I should mention later this afternoon, we are having a budgeting basics session for students to really learn sort of the foundation of creating and sticking to a budget with a personal finance expert. But I think it's great to hear from you guys who have sort of, lived through this experience. What are your tips for creating a budget, sticking to a budget? I think for a lot of students, living on a student budget is one of the challenges of going to university and living on your own and being independent. So what's your advice as far as budgeting? Georgie, do you want to start?
Sorry, someone's at my door. One of my housemates will get it. Yeah, so I really think that in the first kind of few weeks of uni, really try and find your feet and like try and suss out how much you want to pay. Like different people will have different amounts of money going to university. So kind of comparing yourself is always a bit of kind of muddied water. You just want to find out, like work out how much money you've got and suss it out for yourself. And I'm sure Jamie will have loads of tips and tricks around that. But something I found really, really helpful once I'd kind of worked out how much my like weekly, monthly amount was, I downloaded an app and got a card from a company called Monzo. There's loads of companies that are similar, like Monzo, Revolut, not kind of endorsing any specific one, but I've had Monzo since my first year. And basically you get the card and you get an app on your phone and it tracks your spending, and it like, so every time you spend, it just pops up and says, oh, you've spent £10 at Lidl or something. And it breaks it down at the end of the month really easily. So you can see like, oh, you've spent this much money in the pub, or you've spent this much money on, I don't know, Urban Outfitters or something. And you can actually really track your spending and work out kind of, oh, I need to rein it in here a little bit, or I've got X amount left. Like there's loads of like different techniques, and you have like, you can have little saving pots as well. So if you spend, I don't know, £1.91, then it will round it up the 9p and pop it in a pot. So you don't even really notice it. So you can like kind of actually save and continue to save in that way without even really noticing. So I think that's one of my top tips. I literally, I live by my Monzo. And you can also keep it separate. So you get like your student loan into one account and then pop some money into your Monzo. So you actually can't overspend and go straight into your overdraft, because I think once you're in there, it's quite easy to just go, oh, I'll just spend a bit more. And then you're like, I'm overdrawn. So that's one of my top tips. I've lived by it all this time.
I am going to preface this by the fact that, so in first year, I saw this person, you know, again, when I say look at emails, look around you as well, who was at a stall and they said, oh, would you like to be a money mentor? You get to tell students about financial literacy and you get paid. So I was employed doing that for 3 years. So how to budget is a very common question. We have a number of, this is a plug, there is a number of budgeting guides which Money Mentors made on King's website, which you can have a look at. I think they're quite useful. But generally, it's about understanding what your income is and what your outgoings are. So if once you have that is the basics. You need to understand what your income is. And if your outgoings are above it, you either need to decrease your outgoings or you need to increase your income. So whether you do that through diversifying, entrepreneurship, finding another part-time job, they're all avenues, or looking at your spending. Just like Georgie said, looking at Monzo, looking at your spending is one way to then keep in budget. Another thing which students have found helpful in the past, although in a COVID era, not sure how helpful it is, getting all your money in cash. Because when you have cash, it's a lot harder to spend it. Internally, like, do I really want to spend this £20? Whereas if it's contactless, done. You don't really want that contactless. It's similar. We've had students who have had issues with, for example, addiction to buying things on Amazon. I would really recommend deleting your card details from Amazon. So every time you have to buy something, you have to fill it in. Similarly with, this is something I am guilty of, having autosave credit card details or debit card details online. Then when you're online shopping, it's very easy to just remember, if you remember your CVV, you can just put it in and then you don't even need to think about it. Whereas if you actually have to input it, you might think, oh, do I really need this? Do I want it? What will I feel like if I don't have it? So really, it's about that emotional attachment to money. And how do you break that emotional attachment? I think in the pandemic also, it's been quite easy when you're feeling lonely. I'm very guilty of this. I buy things to fill the void. And if you get rid of your card details online, it really helps. You're less likely to spend money. But also investing in things that are good for you. Maybe that might be something around your well-being that will help you stop spending money, just making sure you are in line with your budget and just keeping an eye on it, whether that be through Monzo, might be through a money tracker. King's pays for Black Bullion, which is a free financial education website for students. I'm always going to plug Black Bullion, and they have a budget tracker as well. So it's just using the platform which is best for you, because money is very individualized. So it's about making sure that you're doing the best for you, not what's the best for your friend who is rolling in money next door. They're not actually, you just think that.
Yeah, that's all. I think that's great advice for everyone, not just for students. Salma, can you tell us a little bit more about Money Mentors and what that program does? Because I suspect, although your experience is obviously at King's, that there are programs like this at loads of universities that students can take advantage of.
Money Mentors, what can I say about money mentors? It is amazing. So what it is, so you get paid London living wage, which was about £10.70, which is quite good. You have to attend lots of training, so you learn about things. It provides peer financial support. So if it's a staff member telling you as a student, this is how you budget, quite often you take that in a very different way from, oh, this is my experience as budgeting. This is how student finance work. Oh, you know the King's Living Bursary, which is a bursary which is given to students of wide participation backgrounds. Oh, did you know that there's this technicality, which means you get like this, whereas staff don't have that lived experience? So it's really helpful. We run workshops. So we have budgeting. We have a scams one, which I've done, which is quite useful. And the number of people who are astounded by the things that they learn in the scams one. We do stalls around campus, which might have games. We had hook a duck, which is quite fun, where you hook a duck and then you have to then it's harder than it looks, I will say. We spent many a time trying to practice. And then you look on the bottom and you have to try and answer a question, and then you get free chocolate. Maybe there's some raffles sometimes, and then you win a raffle, you win the hamper. If you guess the monetary value of the hamper correctly, again, improving your financial literacy skills. There are so many different parts to it. And it's something that I've always been really supportive of. Peer support is what's going to get us through this, because who better to tell you how to do something than someone who's already done it. It's all about the little things, like me saying, oh yeah, student finance does it this way. I was talking to my my CEO's son has got an offer and is going to university next year, and I was talking to him about disabled students allowance. I didn't claim it, but I know people who had. So telling him some about the nuances around it is quite helpful. But let me get this right. We're not allowed to provide advice. We're only allowed to provide guidance. I got told off when I forgot that. But just having that support is really helpful, and having those networks. It's really important to take the taboo out of talking about money. If you go up to someone on campus, I remember I did outside of this building once actually, and you say to them, oh, can I talk to you about money? They go, no. Why would I want to talk to you about money? And just trying to take the stigma away from it is really important. So then you can have those honest conversations. If you're struggling with credit card debt, you can reach out to your university or union perhaps sometimes will have money advisors who can help you with that. It's really important not to be afraid of that. International students in particular have had issues with the cultural stigma around claiming hardship funding. So knowing about the intricacies of that, we got taught a lot about hardship funding. I know too much about it. Knowing the intricacies about that really helps students to feel supported when they do need to claim it when times get tough, but don't be afraid to reach out for support.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just sort of normalizing having conversations around budgeting and around the support that's available, I think is really important. And of course, that peer-to-peer engagement and students being able to speak to and hear from other students about what's available and not being afraid of, just having those conversations is so important. There's another question from the audience that I think is a really good one to answer. We talked in some of the sessions yesterday about helping particularly international students really understand what total cost of attendance means, that their tuition is black and white. They know exactly what that's going to cost. Generally, they would, sign a contract for room and board or for accommodation, and they would know what that's going to cost. But really helping students understand what are all of those other costs that can add up quite quickly at university. And there's a question from the audience that says, what takes up most of your money other than food and rent? And I think it's helpful maybe for you guys to just talk about, like, what are some of those hidden costs that students might not think about, or things that even took you by surprise as you were a student, kind of thinking about, oh gosh, I forgot I would have to pay for that. I forgot this would be an expense that I need to calculate. And how can we help students prepare for some of those things? Georgie, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really happy to jump in. I mean, for it really varies. Again, it depends, like Salma said, how much money you have coming in and going out. But I think, like, hidden costs wise, I live in Cardiff, but I'm actually from Essex, and I was like, oh, I don't mind being far away from home, that's fine. Didn't really compute the fact that I would want to go home at some point and get the train, and it's actually quite expensive because I have to go like through London and everything, and it's fine, but you do have to budget for it and kind of account for it. So I think if you're kind of planning to travel backwards and forwards from anywhere, just make sure that you have that in the back of your mind as well, because you don't want to be in a position where you want to go home and then you're like, oh, I'm actually a bit strapped for cash. I think that's definitely something. Obviously this year's been really, really different. A lot of, like, Cardiff especially, and I know that loads of other universities all across the UK are very, very social. So be that drinking events or non-drinking events, or like just getting out with your friends, like that can really add up. I'm sure Sam can agree, especially in London, if you're going out for food and drinks and everything, like that is going to add up. But again, your student loan, should like allow you to partake in those activities. I think one, I'm sure we'll go on to it later and I won't go on about it too much, but one of the big things for me is that there are going to be some of those hidden costs, but you also, like, university is there for the experience and for you guys to make memories. Like, don't be afraid to actually sometimes spend that little bit extra to make that memory. I think I'd always rather, you know, spend a little bit much and go, oh, okay, I need to kind of rein it back in a little bit, just to make sure you have that memory. So like your financial well-being is secure, but social, like mental and physical well-being, because you actually want to, you know, get out and try these new things. But yeah, I'd say travel is definitely something you should kind of keep an eye on, just in the back of your head. Rent and food is the main thing. But otherwise, I can't really think of any massive kind of hidden things. I wouldn't be scared of that. One really great thing as being a student is you have to worry about council tax. So I'm paying council tax this year and it's horrible to worry about council tax normally. As a student, you're completely exempt. But yeah, I don't know if I can think of any other hidden things. Sam, have you got any hidden things?
So it really depends on your course sometimes. Also, I would say when we talk about travel home, also traveling across London can add up quite significantly. So thinking about that, budgeting that in, even traveling to the supermarket, do you really want to be coming home from Lidl by walk, if it's a 30-minute walk and you've got 2 massive bags full of groceries, you need to be factoring those in. But some courses have hidden costs. I know in the Royal Veterinary College, for example, they have to buy their own lab coats, which cost, I think it was £50 or something ridiculous when I saw it. There are, well, you're not there yet, but graduation costs have hidden costs around it. There are balls, which are quite expensive. I remember seeing the ticket once, £65. What am I going to do for £65 for 3 hours? Is that really the best use of my money? Some societies have some hidden costs, especially the sports ones, can be not as inclusive as I'd like them to be. Yes, the student union will tend to subsidise them, but there, especially with sports club, there is a hidden cost. Perhaps with varsity when you have to travel to do competitions, that's sometimes covered, that's sometimes not. There's things like socials where my friend is at Southampton and she's part of the orchestra and they go on tour. So they went to, I think, Madrid, and that cost her a couple hundred, I'd like to say. I know it's really about what you want to be involved in. I'm very cheap. I did not participate in most of these activities. So I saved quite a lot of money. I got my social interaction through my different jobs that I had, doing different things that I was involved in. But it's about, what do you want from university? And that is a question that's very individual and everyone needs to answer for themselves. And that will then lead to hidden costs. Also utilities. I live at home, but utilities I've heard are very expensive. And there's confusion about TV license. If you look at Save the Student, it has a good workaround for TV license generally. If your parents are paying for it, you might not have to pay for it, which is great. As long as your laptop isn't plugged in when you're watching it. It's a really weird exemption along those lines. But it's just thinking about all these hidden costs. You need to have a bit of contingency, some bit of workaround in your budget, or if something comes up, oh, I do need to think about this. So not being strict with yourself, but also giving yourself the flexibility. If something comes up, something might come up. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something which isn't really horrible, like your house goes off on fire. But maybe your clothes all, I don't know. Maybe you just grow an inch, I don't know, and then your clothes don't fit, and then you have to find new clothes. Think about things which, if you do have that flex in your budget, maybe a bit of money every month that you're putting in your savings account or in a different place, then you think, oh, okay, I've got this money if I have an emergency. Oh, I know, if your car breaks down, if any of you have a car, having that flex if you need it, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I want to just also revisit what Georgie said about travel, because I know most of our student audience is international students, and that's a big cost. I mean, they may not be traveling home as frequently as you would be traveling from Cardiff to Essex, but that adds up quickly. Even if they just want to go home twice a year, that can be a big cost. And then some, of course, as you mentioned, like just traveling locally, where you're, local transportation around where you're studying. We've talked about how, being at university is also just about experiencing the local culture and taking advantage of the place that you're living and all that it has to offer. And those costs can add up. So you just want to make sure that you're aware of them and that you have budgeted for them. I certainly don't want this to be like a scare session about how expensive everything is going to be, because really there are so many opportunities for you to save money and to be able to have a very full and exciting university experience without spending tons and tons of money. But we just want to highlight some of the things that you need to just remember, bear in mind, and put a line in your budget for them. We've got about 5 minutes left, and Georgie, I want to go back to something you mentioned about just kind of wellness and really thinking about how your financial wellness has an impact on your sort of overall well-being and experience at university. And I wonder if you can just comment a little bit on that, and about, you know, the link between your happiness at university and also your awareness of your own sort of financial well-being.
Yeah, of course. So like you just said, Jamie, I mean, there's in every city, obviously I can speak more for Cardiff because I know it so well, but I saw someone said they were going to Nottingham, and I mean, Bristol, like all the major cities around the UK, there are always like free bits and bobs that you guys can do. There's so much to kind of get involved and get active with, but there will be some cost associated with some sorts, like some events, or like if you do want to travel a little bit to get across the city to go to something, to visit something, then, you know, there will be a cost associated. But I really genuinely believe in the conversations and the training I've had kind of within the SU and with the university, that there is a big balance between, you know, being financially stable and financially healthy, but then also really memories. University is, everyone says this, and I've now come to the end of my 3 years and I can't really think about it too much, but university is like the best experience, one of the best experience you guys will have. And it's up to you to, oh, is my internet gone funny? Can you hear me?
We can still hear you.
Sorry, is my internet perfect? Yeah, I think it's up to you guys, like, to kind of establish, like Salma said, what you want to get from uni, but like what makes you happy, and what do you want to invest your time and your resource and your money into to kind of give you that full university experience. Because for me, I love kind of traveling, so I'm in Wales, so I really love like kind of, I don't know, getting the train to the beach or something to see the local beaches and like with my friends and take a picnic, like, and that obviously there is an element of cost to that, but instead of like saving a tenner and sitting in my room on my own, I'd rather go and have that experience with my friends. And I think it's very personal, and it's completely up to you guys what you want to do with it. But I think don't be scared to spend your money at university, be sensible with it, and like, you know, be healthy with it. But there are some amazing opportunities to spend an amount of money in situations where you can create memories that will last a lot longer than the tenner sat in your wallet. So I would really say, you know, just always focus on your kind of emotional and mental well-being, but also factor in the fact that you have got that money sat there, and it is worth spending to make memories, but in a very sensible way. Don't be going out every night and spending it all, because that would be fun.
I think it's such a good point to highlight, though, about sort of prioritizing what's most important to you in your university experience. And we talk about this a lot, even in terms of helping students sort of choose the right university and the right course for them, is really thinking about what's most important to you to get out of your university experience. Of course, it's about the degree and studying the right course, but it's also about what type of environment you want to be in and what kinds of experiences are most important to you. And so I think it's a really important conversation to have. We've had some questions come in the last few minutes that I really would love to get to, but we are just about out of time in the next couple of minutes. So what we'll do is try to answer some of these over our social media channels if we can in the next few days. And Georgie and Salma, we may reach out to you for your input on some of these questions that have come in here in the last few minutes. I want to thank you both so much for your time and your expertise. I know that your advice has been incredibly helpful for our student audience, and that it's really great for them to have an opportunity to hear directly from people who have just, you know, gone through this experience, really understand the challenges of living on a student budget. It's been really, really helpful, and we really appreciate it. And to the students in the audience, I would thank you, first of all, for attending, but also invite you to take advantage of the rest of our Funding Week programming. We've got a session, as I mentioned, this afternoon on budgeting basics, which will really give you sort of the foundation and the tools to set up a budget and some tips for sticking to it. And then tomorrow, we've got 2 sessions, one on funding your degree in the US and one on funding your degree in Canada. So definitely join us for those if you are interested in exploring either of those as study destinations. We've also got tons of resources around funding and scholarships and all kinds of topics on our website, timeshighereducation.com/student. So please look there for additional resources. Many thanks to everyone, and we'll see you at the next THE student event. Bye-bye.